Welcome to Glow Up and Get Real. I'm the Sweet Face Injector. And today, if you've ever been curious about permanent makeup like brow work, lip blush, or eyeliner, but had questions like, will it look natural? Does it heal? Does the healing actually work? Or did I choose the right artist? This episode is for you. Kendra's built a business around helping clients feel confident in their skin with results that are customized, safe, designed to fit your face, not a one size fits all. We're getting into what permanent cosmetics really are, what to expect before, during, after an appointment, and the behind the scenes reality of turning a skilled craft into a thriving brand. Let's jump in. Kendra, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, I am so glad that you're on. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got in the business of beauty.
Okay, so I was born in Florida. I am now residing in New Jersey. My mother owned salons, so I grew up in the beauty industry and also the customer service industry. I've been like a career server and I've worked in really high volume salons like Studio RK over in Fort Myers. It's like a beehive. And I've just always loved the aspect of knowing that someone is walking out feeling better than when they walked in. And it's just like really a beautiful transformation every time. So I appreciate that. And I am so blessed and so honored to be able to provide these services to these women, and also do that with integrity, knowing that I'm not just here to line my pockets, but I also really, truly in my heart want the best for my clients and I want them to feel seen and heard and beautiful when they leave me. Always been a hustler. I've always worked 2 and 3 jobs. So I know that right now I'm also at a dentist office and I'm sitting there and I'm working 65 and 70-hour work weeks. And I'm just like, how can I put this hustle and this ambition that I have into something that will one day be hopefully passed down, or just how can I support my family and make this my own? And I had this epiphany and it was like, look into permanent makeup. And a girlfriend of mine that I work with actually was like, no, I think you have to be an esthetician. So I said, okay. And then a couple months later, I had this download and it was like, do your own research. So after doing my own research in the state of New Jersey, I learned you do not have to be an esthetician. You do, however, have to go through a series of rings of fire and all of the certifications and the education. So I found a class that aligned with my Passover break, which was 10 days long. And I put down the deposit and fell in love with it and just been going ever since. And this was April of 24.
Okay, well, that leads me to the next question. So, what's the story behind Afterglow by Kendra?
So I feel like I have a very sparkly and joyful personality. And I don't even know how the name came to me, but I just know that when I thought of it, I was like, it originally was Afterglow Beauty Bar because it was originally myself and one other girl. And then she faded out and it was left with just myself. So I said Afterglow by Kendra. That's how I came up with the name.
Okay, then what made you decide to open your own business instead of just staying independent or working for someone else?
So I knew that with the schedule that I currently have, I am working 35 to 37 hours full time at a dental practice as a receptionist and a scheduling coordinator. And I knew that I cannot afford to lose my benefits right now, right? This is my big girl job with my big girl benefits, that I had to be able to learn and build around what I needed. And I knew that the only way to do this was to open up something that was going to be my own. So I'm in a suite where I have 24/7 access and I am able to filter clients in according to early mornings, later nights. I have some afternoon appointments and, of course, weekends. But at the end of the day, I want this to be number one. So I am treating it as number one. And if I have to go in later or leave earlier, I am doing that because this is what I see myself doing from here on out.
Yeah, I've been there. I know exactly what you're talking about. You just have to make the time,
Yes.
regardless if it's day, night, lunchtime, evening.
Yes.
That's how you start a business. So, what was the hardest part of going from just artist to business owner?
So I started as both, right? I immediately dove right in from getting certified, passing the test, to immediately opening up my own suite with no clients, with no potential clients, just faith, blind faith, and knowing I've seen the experience in my life. You get out what you put in. So I just knew, like, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to reach out. I found myself mentors. Artist to business owner. I dove in as both immediately after I finished my certification and I passed the test in New Jersey. I immediately, secured my spot in a suite, and I went into it with complete blind faith and no clients, and just knowing that if I'm going to put the work in, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to put my ego to the side. I'm going to reach out to the people that I respect in this industry. I'm going to ask them for guidance. I'm going to put the work in. I guess if I were just an artist, there would be a lot less client interaction and there would be a lot less building those relationships, because I would just be working in a place where I show up, I have a schedule, I tattoo the faces, I send them on their way. But for me, I'm everything. I am reception, I am inventory, I am artist, I am follow up, I am the screener, I am the one that's doing everything. So it is a lot of work. It's a lot of energy, maintaining these relationships, building these relationships, showing up. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mhm. So what do you wish you knew before you started Afterglow? What do
So
you wish what's something that you wish now looking back?
So I wish I would have known more about the tax aspect. So
Okay.
I've had, right. So when we originally started we changed the name of the LLC. So originally the LLC was one thing. I changed it to Afterglow by Kendra. So I did that at a state level, but not a federal level. And the federal level, it's just been months and months of trying to get this changed. As far as the federal taxes go, I was told you do not have to file zero if you had zero income. But intuition told me this year, file a zero anyway. So because I filed zero this year, it prompted them to look at last year. I filed nothing. I was hit with, I don't know, I think it was like a $3,000 fine or a $4,000 fine. And I was sick to my stomach. Mrs. Winters, she helped me tremendously. They were able to write that fine off. And then as far as the state taxes go, just I was told to create the portal and do the things so I can run a report and I can see what sales tax I have been collecting. I log in, I pay it, but I filed nothing. So just, I feel like every single aspect of this business, it has been do it wrong first. And it's
Mhm.
just like a lesson. It's like no mistakes get repeated twice, but I do keep learning even a year and a
Mhm.
half in.
Right, yeah. I learned so much by default. I totally get it. There's been things I did that I'm like, "Wow, I never knew that I had to do it this way," when you're really supposed to do it the other way, and I got in a little tax issue too where I wasn't paying a certain date that I was supposed to pay because it had changed, because as you make more money, as you bring in more bottom line, the taxes change, the rules change. And so that's something that's not in our community to where we can just go to and say, "Hey, tell me about this. Tell me what I need to know." And I think that's really important that we have that, because that would have helped you start your business. That would have helped me start my business. It's
Yes,
something that's lacking. So I have been
absolutely.
looking into maybe starting something in my training program for that. So if I do, I'll let you know.
Yes. Get an
Because there's
accountant.
not an accountant. I couldn't, no, but I can ask an accountant, right?
Yeah.
So use your resources. Well, then what does your marketing look like then today? Word of mouth, Instagram, referrals? Do you do Groupons, partnerships?
So I have not done Groupons yet. That's next on my list. As of right now, I run ads on Facebook. So for me, I feel like the majority of my clientele are women over 50 or women over 55. Default is Facebook. You're not going to find a 55-year-old on TikTok. And so I'm advertising on Facebook. I have a whole business suite, which I have learned to use. It was very overwhelming at first. And then I also, I offer incentives as far as like referral incentives. I offer discounts for your touch-up session if you go on and leave an honest review about your first appointment. So, yeah, just
Okay.
word of mouth and Facebook. I also have printed out pamphlets and flyers. I am dabbling in all of these places locally as far as like massage therapy and pedicures, just other places in the beauty industry where I go in and I'll get a service and I'll say, "Hey, do you mind if I leave these here?" And no one has told me no. And every time I feel even sick to my stomach to ask, but like, what's the worst they can say? No. And I haven't heard that yet. Little bit
Good.
of everything.
What have you found that has been working for you?
The Facebook ads have definitely been working, and then also posting to Facebook groups, like, organically. First of all, showing up in the Facebook groups. So, New Jersey is very different from Florida, where you have just, like, your counties and your cities, but in New Jersey, there are so many townships in one county. So, I'm a part of, like, I don't know, 25 to 50 different town pages in the surrounding towns, and I get on and I engage, not business related, but then I post, my services, and that that is where it all started. That's where I found some of my first clients, and with every face that I touched, it was able to give me one more before and after picture and allow one more person to trust me to come in and get their service done, and it's just kind of snowballed.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, when people hear permanent makeup, what do they usually get that is misunderstood?
So I feel like so many people think that permanent makeup is like a cookie cutter, one size fits all. I feel like 95% of the people that reach out to me are like, I see your work and I don't want those dark eyebrows. I have blonde hair and I want them thin. And it's like, I understand that. But if we look at the canvas that you're looking at, she came in with dark features. She already came in with thicker brows and she came in with dark brows. So I can't give her something blonde. That wouldn't look normal. But it's just like permanent makeup is 100% customizable to your bone structure, to your preference. I prefer to stay on the lighter side because you can always go darker. You cannot go lighter. And at the end of the day, I would rather bring you in for a third session on the house to make sure you have the results that you're wanting than you too dark too fast. And I always tell my clients, your work is not done until the second session. Trust the process, communicate your wants, and then I always make sure that the client understands that it's 50% what I do and then 50% what you do as well as the
Mhm.
client.
Mhm. I agree with that completely. So what are the most popular services you do? What areas?
Definitely eyebrows. So
Okay.
eyebrows are the most popular service that I do. I love to do the lash line enhancement. I think it's so beautiful. It's so easy. And it's just like so elegant and
Mm,
timeless and classy. So, but eyebrows are the most popular.
okay. Do you do winged eyeliner?
I do not. So I don't
Okay.
do winged eyeliner. I like to keep it very reserved. You can leave my suite if I gave you a winged eyeliner and say, this is the greatest thing. I love it so much. But in 6 months or 7 months or a year, things changed. Gravity takes over as we age. And I just don't want to put my name on something, although there is never a guarantee because the skin is 100% unpredictable. The chances of you ending up not so happy with your healed results, stuff like that. Being newer in the industry, I just prefer not to dabble in that quite yet.
Yeah. Natural is in.
Yeah, natural
Natural's in.
isn't.
And I do like the fact that you're thinking about the client in later years. You're
Absolutely.
thinking, okay, when the skin starts to relax and get a little loose, laxity is involved. That's great that you're thinking ahead so that when that client does get to that age that they don't have permanent makeup that they hate.
Right.
Yeah. I mean
Right.
that makes sense. That's good. So,
Yeah.
what trends are you seeing right now in brows, lips, lip liners? What are the
So
trends?
for the most part, most of my girlies want light, they want natural, and that is what I prefer. So we look at the skin like a sponge, and it only has so much room for so much pigment. And as you're going deeper and deeper into the layers of the skin, is when you start to see the blue and the gray start happening, and the brows tend to ash out. And Then I have clients that'll reach out who I have not seen and they'll say, "Hi, I need a touch up. I haven't had in 3 years." And I'll say, "Perfect. Send me a picture. Let's see if we can work over what you have." And it looks like they already have a Sharpie. So I will ask them, like, what would your goal be for this touch up? And it's usually like, well, I don't want to have to fill them in. But what the client wants versus what is a realistic expectation are sometimes two very different things. And not all money is good money.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Have you ever had to do reversal?
No, but I have been certified through Lyft, Taryn Darling's products. So you can do emergency removal up to 72 hours after work, where you don't even use the needle to implant that solution in the skin anymore. You just, take off the crust or the
Mhm.
scab that has formed over the past few days with some warm water and you slap it on there. And I've seen really beautiful results shared on social media and on platforms that I'm a part of, but
Mhm.
I have not had to do that
Oh, well, good. That means you're doing good work.
yet. Yeah,
Would you take somebody else's work, within 24 to 48 hours and
absolutely.
somebody is, like, not happy, you would do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, alright. So, okay, well, when you have clients come in, I know I see it all the time, they're nervous.
Oh, yeah.
They're nervous because they don't know what to expect, they're nervous because they are afraid they're gonna be in pain,
Yes.
and they're just nervous about the result in the end. So how do
Mhm.
you help them feel safe and confident?
So for me, I I remember like I think it was my second pair of brows I ever did on my own. At that time, I had like a flat massage bed. She was an older lady, and I'm joking like you're paying for brows and you're getting abs too. Like here, let me help you up. I had to keep sitting her up because I realized that the face shifts, especially the more elastic your skin is. So I continuously had to sit her up. And I just then incorporated like, I don't need to do a grand reveal for my client, especially the ones who are nervous. So I will tell them, let's get you mapped out. I'm going to lay you back. We're going to break the skin. I'm going to apply numbing. I'm going to do one pass in the mapping and the shape that we created. I'm going to show you what it's looking like because I can't take it away once we're 4 passes in. But if you see something in that first pass that you're like, oh, I might want it not as high here or whatever. I'm including them in the process and I'm showing them. And we have yet to have to change anything for anyone. And I feel like they really appreciate that because I know that when I got my brows microbladed probably 7 years ago, and it was by an amazing, amazing artist that was working at the salon that I was working at. I remember, I think I was with her for 2.5 hours. Even though I knew she was so good, I was just like, what are these gonna look like? Like, what is taking so long? What are they gonna look like? And her grand reveal was excellent, but I just like to be able to ease the nerves.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, I'm thinking back, I had my brows done with Kelly, who's in my spa, and she's an amazing artist as well, and my sister loved them, so she wanted brows, but she was so nervous even though she saw my result. She knew
Right.
I was happy. She knew Kelly was my employee. It just didn't matter. She was still nervous. So, I think, what you said, just go slow and include them in the process. I think that's wonderful. That's a
Yep.
great idea. I love that.
Right.
So, when you talk to someone that's looking to choose a permanent cosmetic tattoo artist, so say they come in for a consult with you, but they're not quite sure who they're going to pick. They want to kind of taste a couple of salons and spas and see who's the best through their conversations. What do you tell them when they're trying to choose an artist? What to look for?
So for me, I number one, like if somebody wants something that I can't give them, I have people who I will refer to. But two, like healed results are very important. That being said, I haven't been doing this so long to have so many healed results. So in that aspect, I will tell them if you choose me as your artist and you think that I'm a good fit, and it's not as dark as you want, or if you feel like you need a third session, like that's on me because I feel like I am still experiencing the different skin types and how different skins take inks with different cartridges and different pendulum versus whipping versus scooting. So healed results are very important. I would not go to any artist who says, pick a color off these swatches, because that's also not how it works at all. It's not like going to the nail salon. You have to make sure your artist understands undertones and Fitzpatrick types, and then pigment and how the pigment is responding with the skin. And that being said, everybody is different. Someone with very thin skin and sun damaged skin and dry skin, it's going to suck that pigment up like a sponge, versus someone younger with collagen. You might have to saturate more. So you don't want to be asked to go to the shelf and pick a color. You want an artist that's going to really listen to your desires as far as shaping. I had a woman come in and she said, I've been shopping around for an artist for 2 years. I went to someone in New York. She mapped me out. I told her, that's not really the picture that I showed you. And she said, well, I'm the artist and I know best. So that would actually be a suitable answer if we're talking about pigments. But when we're talking about shape, of course, you can't, bring me a picture of Kim Kardashian and you're 65 years old and you want Kim Kardashian eyebrows. You don't have the same bone structure, but you want an artist that's going to listen to you, that's going to make you feel seen and heard, respect what it is that you want, and also guide you. If someone were to come to me and say they want like really dark eyebrows, again, long term, I'm thinking long term. I'm not going to give you really dark eyebrows. I would explain to them permanent makeup is not a replacement for makeup. It's going to give you a shadow. And on days where you do a full face of makeup, or if you prefer a darker, bolder look, I've given you the outline. Go in with a pencil or go in with powder, and it takes the thought out of it. It's giving you the results that you want, and it's minimizing the effort that you're going to be putting in every morning.
So, what would you say, what aftercare mistakes you see most often? You can teach and teach and teach. You can hand them some post care instructions, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
For
What
sure.
I always say. So, what aftercare mistakes do you see the most often?
So I feel like most of my clients, because I am so thorough, I send them before and after care before they even decide to schedule the appointment. I tell them, please review this. I want to make sure that you are willing to commit to any temporary lifestyle adjustments that you're going to need to make to get the most bang for your buck. You don't want to come in here and drop a couple $100 and then go home and go tan in the tanning bed and go in the sauna and then come back and say like, oh, what happened to my brows? Well, you didn't listen. And you have to commit, because again, it's what I do, but it's also what the client does. So I send that to them beforehand. Usually, always at the appointment, I will then discuss aftercare again. There are certain questions that I ask to make sure they followed specific before care. You want to minimize, coffee, want to make sure you're not on any blood thinners. There's certain medications that you cannot be on. Some clients require a medical clearance. We talk about thyroid conditions and diabetes, how that can affect your healed results. But I did have one client who she came in and she came in for her second appointment, her perfecting session, and I noticed that her healed results were very blotchy. And then she said, I'm panicking because I'm like a little bit newer at this point, still new, but newer. And she said, I've been scrubbing my face with basically a sugar scrub. And I'm like,
Mm,
dang,
wow.
yeah,
Not good, not good.
not good, not good. So yeah, it's not
That's
so
how you
much.
get infections.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I know
Mhm.
she said that she didn't start doing that until 2 weeks after. So like she continued, that was part of her
Oh.
skincare, was scrubbing her face. But I also give a longevity of your permanent makeup sheet with like all of the swaps that you can make and things that you should be avoiding and things that can, help your permanent makeup fade quicker. And I guess that part was missed, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I'll put it on me. I apologize. I did not reiterate these things in person. Don't put your sugar scrub on your eyebrows ever again.
Never, 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 never. What's a client's transformation that you still remember that really got you emotionally?
Oh, okay. So, my very first client, it was actually a coworker's mother, and I did her for free. This was the first client I ever did in my suite. She came in, she had nothing. She had no hair, she had no eyebrows, and I will not forget, she sent me a text. I don't know if it was a couple days later, and she just said, "I have to tell you, you changed my life." Like, this is something like her daughter was telling me that she had been struggling with and so self-conscious and like won't leave the house without pencil. And then I learned there are other clients who have $500 worth of products and none of them give them the desired look that they want. And they won't leave the house without doing their eyebrows. And their husbands are like, "Let's go. What are you doing?" So that is definitely one that sticks out to me, just that you changed my life. And it was a pleasure.
What's the most common myth you would want to debunk about permanent makeup?
So this is kind of like a double-sided sword, right? So permanent makeup is permanent makeup because at the end of the day, it is pigment implanted into the skin. And when implanted at the proper depth with the proper inks that are designed to fade and designed for the face, it can fade significantly without your touch-ups, right? If you go to an artist who's implanting too deep, you are not gonna fade. You're gonna turn blue and ashy, then you're gonna say, "I need a touch up," and at that point, you're too saturated. So, permanent makeup is permanent. However, there are instances where that's why some artists will say semi-permanent makeup, and they'll spin that to communities who are not allowed to get tattoos, and that is how they justify it. So, permanent makeup is permanent, although it can be semi-permanent, specifically like very oily skin, orange peel skin. You are probably going to have nothing left, but there is never a guarantee as to how long it's going to last. And it's called permanent makeup for a reason because you're using a blade or a needle and you are implanting pigment into the skin. That's AKA tattoo,
Mhm.
AKA permanent,
Mm,
although it
yeah.
could fade. Right.
What's your favorite service to perform
I love
and why?
I love the eyebrows, but I really also love the lash line. The lash line enhancement is really easy. There's nothing to mess up. You stay in the lashes and it creates that very elegant, soft, natural, timeless look. But I feel like eyebrows, they are the center of your face. Eyebrows can make it or break it for you. And I had recently a lady who came in and her eyebrows grew just very straight across and down, and I saw how she penciled them in, so we had a discussion, right? The goal is usually to stay along the brow bone and to stay in the natural hairline. However, that is not always possible. Otherwise, why would she come to me? She's already doing them straight. So we had a discussion and I sent her on her way after she was able to commit with some single-use razors and told her this is going to be a lifetime of maintenance. However, it's very easy. Pull, trim, done. And we were able to lift her and she has beautiful brows now. But just the transformations that the eyebrows are giving these women who are either losing hair because of medications and medical conditions or over plucking or just thyroid conditions and to be able to give them that confidence back and like lower maintenance mornings and less stress mornings is a gift.
Mhm. Well, what's next for Afterglow by Kendra? In the next 12 months, what's your game plan? 2026.
So I actually was working a third job, and Christmas Day will be my last day at a restaurant. So I'm able to dedicate that, I don't know, 15 to 22 extra hours a week. The goal for Afterglow by Kendra is in the first 2 months of the year, I really just want to set down some concrete systems. I've been dabbling and trying, like playing with what works as far as algorithms and advertising, but I want to set those systems. I want to touch 100 new faces in the year of 2026. And then I also would love to do like a senior day. I had an older woman in my chair who came for a model call, which I run every so often. It's $300 for your first two appointments, but you have to be okay with before and after pictures and videos. So I want to do a senior day once a month where I offer affordable eyebrows to those who would otherwise not be able to afford them.
Mhm.
And I can't wait to do that because
Yeah,
I
really
just
nice.
like to give back.
That's Great. So, what's your sweetest tip of the day?
My sweetest tip of the day. I will say do everything that you do with integrity and pure intentions, and then watch the blessings come raining in.
Well, how can the listeners get a hold of you if they have questions or they want to check out your place?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a Facebook, facebook.com/afterglow by Kendra. My Instagram handle is PMU by Kendra underscore afterglow. And then you can always reach me by email, afterglowbykendra@gmail.com.
All right. I'll put those links in. And thank you so much for coming on.